Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am the Inconsequential Runner and let's talk about traveling and more importantly, running when we go on our travels. I don't know about you. For me, there's nothing better than going for a run in a new place. Whether it's some other region of the country I live in or in another country, I love tracking my runs and having my runs named by the location where I go. So to have a run called Paris or London, Manchester, shout out to Manchester, or Tokyo or Osaka, New York, what could beat that sort of stuff? What can beat it? And as a runner, it's so easy to be able to go for runs in other locations. Now, safety aside, I always go for runs in other locations. But let's talk about today, Japan, if you're going to go running in Japan. So I'll give you some tips in terms of my experiences of running in Japan. And if you want to see some of my runs in Japan, at the end of this video, I'll put up a couple of things you can click on that shows you my run in Tokyo, one of them in Tokyo that I recorded, and one in Kyoto. Okay, firstly, running in Japan, start early. If you're an early morning person, you're gonna love it because a lot of the places that I ran in Japan, primarily Osaka, Tokyo, Kyoto, didn't wake up until around about 9 a.m. So 9:30. So the streets are super quiet at a reasonable time in the morning. So if you love running early, go early. Get it done then. The streets, even in busy places like Tokyo, certainly Kyoto and Osaka, there's a lot of quiet streets. The best one, quiet, small, narrow streets, which I loved running down. And if you go early in the morning, you've got the street pretty much all to yourself. There'll be the odd car, but they're not moving that fast and you can hear them coming from a distance away because there's not many of them at that time in the morning in the small streets. So it's too easy. So especially in Kyoto, really enjoyed the small streets there. They can look all the same, which brings me to another thing. Don't be scared to get lost, especially if you've got your GPS watch and it can track you back to home. In Japan, if you get lost and you bump into people, they are so willing to help you. Super, super, super friendly. They deserve all the supers. Friendly people in Japan. They'll take good care of you. And there's usually, and especially if you're in one of those big cities, I can't talk to all places in Japan, but I can talk to Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. If you've got one of the IC cards over there, which gets you on and off the train, so let's just call it a train card, you are golden because you can find your way back home that way. So either on the train card, via your watch, or worst case scenario, people can help you. Just on that, I always take my CamelBak. Now, often I strip the bladder out of my CamelBak so I'm not running around with fluids, and more importantly, I'm not transporting fluids in my suitcase. Yeah, sure, I know. You're gonna say, well, just get your CamelBak dry. You try and do that and there might be the odd, So I often strip the bladder out because when I do go traveling, my runs aren't gonna be much longer than 10 kilometers on any one day. Run 5 to 10K, sometimes 12, 13. Don't need a lot of liquid for that. I'll just sort of pre-drink, go for a run. So with the CamelBak with the bladder out, it's so easy to carry the train card, your phone, a little bit of cash, and some cards you can purchase stuff with, and boom, you are ready to go. Okay, so that's it. So don't be scared to get lost. Make your runs exciting. Have an out and back or a couple of landmarks you're going to run past. So for me, it was always run to a castle or run to a river, and along the river, especially in Kyoto, a big river there that runs through the city. Run to the river, along the river, run back. The other great thing about running in new places for me is you just see so much more. The things you see on your run. So because you're going to see so much, don't be scared to stop and look and check things out. So make all your runs, unless you've got some sort of program you have to follow because you're racing there or something like that, but make all your runs easy runs. So easy that you don't have to stick to a route, that you don't have to stick to a pace, to stop and stand still for a little while. Do that. And look, another tip on that, forest running with a couple of buddies recently, and I asked them the question, do you stop your watch? Because we all stop to take in the gel, take in the views and stuff like that. And there was a mix. Now I don't stop my watch, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm not worried about my average pace, especially on a run in a forest. But what it will tell me by keeping the watch going, by not stopping it, is how quickly my heart rate comes down and how much it comes down. You lose all that data when you pause the watch. So even when you get to some traffic lights and you have to wait there for a minute, don't stop your watch. It's not an important run. It is not a race. But if you can see how quickly your heart rate comes down, by checking on that frequently, it gives you an insight on fitness, or if you've got, a cold or something coming on, you see your recovery, or your tiredness, your recovery isn't happening. So you'll get used to your own recovery. Right, back to Japan. Okay, don't stop your watch. There's no need to. Don't stop your watch. Okay, visit landmarks or have a place to run to. So as I said, castles, rivers, running tracks. There are so many running tracks in Japan. Love it. They are a nation of runners. They love running. So have a couple of running tracks. There was one I got to in Osaka that is, it was probably about 3 stories off the ground. It was an air track, I think they called it. It was 3 lanes wide. It was actually 4, but they had 3 lanes. One lane was a double lane for walkers, and the other 2 lanes were the same sort of width on a normal running track. And it was a 200-meter track with astrograss. And as I say, when you run around the track, it drops away on the sides. Nice and safe, but dropped away on the sides. And it was about 3 stories up. And in the middle of the track, there was an artificial pitch. Not at the same level, it was down a little. Wish I could remember off the top of my head the name of the track. But if you're really keen to know, ask me the question in the comments and I'll dig it up. And I'll send you actually my run details for that day. Again, and that track was in Osaka. So be patient with crossings. In Japan, everybody stops to cross the crossing when they're allowed to cross the crossing. So we're talking the green notification to cross the crossing. So even if it is 7 in the morning and there's no cars anywhere and there's someone about to cross the crossing and they've got that red indication that they can't cross, they will wait until it's green, and that means you should too. Don't make it a race, make it an easy run. Follow what they do over there. And just take the time to just relax and breathe. So don't bolt across the roads when you're not allowed to, because it's just, it's not in keeping with, you're in another country. So take the opportunity to learn how to do things differently. So do that. So be patient at the crossing. So definitely plan your run. If you're running to a castle, and there are quite a few scattered around the place, once you get to the castle and you're within the grounds are usually massive, and you can just go around the circumference of the castle and get some miles in that way if you want. Or as I say, in Kyoto, get to the river, stuff like that. And tracks, there's tracks everywhere, so get to those. And that's it. I think that's all my tips. Of course, if you're going to go in summer, it's going to be hot, go early. If it's going to be winter, I don't know what that's like. I was on the cusp, sort of like a more autumn, spring sort of thing. It was on the tail end of the summer, so still a lot of heat. So that was another good reason to go earlier in the day. But yeah, certainly biggest tip, early in the morning, get on out there, because you've got the whole place to yourself, and it's fantastic. Another great thing about a morning run is once you've done your morning run, you know this, you feel great for the rest of the day. And you do 20,000 steps a day when you're visiting. So you run your 10K, don't be surprised to see you've got 32, 33, 35,000 steps, I think was one of my bigger days, at the end of the day. So yeah, your legs are going to get a little bit tired, but you love it. All right, take care of yourself. Any questions about Japan? Or if you have any tips, if you've run in Japan, throw them in the comments below, share them with others in this community, and any tips actually traveling overseas and taking your shoes. We are so lucky to be runners, because it's so easy to just take just a few layers of clothing and some shoes. And one of my other videos where I had a shoe off, I narrowed it down to one pair of shoes. So you might only need to take one pair of shoes, especially if they're the Asics Superblast. They will take care of you all your runs. Okay, that's it. Take care. Catch you in the next one.